I'm the production director for Hearthstone. This is Eric Dodds, he's the game director. So we are both really excited to be back here at PAX East. It's been exactly a year since we announced Hearthstone at PAX East 2013. And we're really excited to talk to you guys about where we're heading with Hearthstone next. Okay, so before we do that, we just wanted to do a quick recap of where we've been over the last year. So some of the big releases we had over the last year, we got to closed beta with Hearthstone last August. This was the first time people had a chance to check out some of the cool modes and cool features we put in the game. Made it up through the open beta in January, and this was great for the dev team because we had a chance here to really respond to some of the feedback we had over the course of the closed beta. And then made it to our official PC launch just this past March. And super excited to have announced that we just passed 10 million accounts of people playing in Hearthstone. And that brings us to this month, where we're right now in the middle of the rollout of Hearthstone on the iPad. So we've actually at this point launched the game in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and we're now just about a week or two, really within the next week, we're thinking we're going to be able to launch it globally. So very close to getting it out on iPad. So the next question is, what's next? Where are we going with Hearthstone from here? A lot of these things we have up here on the list have a lot to do with the features in the game and getting it on platforms. And one of the things we haven't talked about in a while is what are we doing in terms of new content and new cards and sort of different ways to play the game. So that brings us to today. And one of the things we talked about at BlizzCon last year was this idea of adventures. And this is a mode of playing in Hearthstone that we're all super excited about, and we think that everybody will be as well. The idea behind adventures, it's a whole new way you can play Hearthstone. It's essentially a string of single-player duels where you're going to go up against a very challenging AI, all sort of like thematically linked together, and you'll also have the chance to win new cards as part of going through the adventure. So today, in terms of talking about where we're headed with Hearthstone, we're very happy to announce our first adventure for Hearthstone, and that's going to be the Curse of Naxxramas. So let me talk to you a little bit about what Naxxramas is. So Naxxramas is a huge floating ancient necropolis. It was essentially built by a race of intelligent arachnoids called the Nerubians. And within Naxxramas there's all kinds of nasty stuff. There's undead, there's spiders, and all kinds of stuff pulled out of your nightmares. It's based on a very popular World of Warcraft raid that was originally released with the initial version of World of Warcraft, later re-released with Wrath of the Lich King. And this is a dungeon that a lot of people have a lot of affection for, a lot of nostalgia for. And in terms of what you'll find inside Naxxramas, there's a string of really tough bosses that are essentially being ruled over by an uber boss who's the Arch-Lich Kel'Thuzad. So with that, I'm going to go and turn it over to our game director, Eric, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about what it means to have Naxxramas inside of Hearthstone.
Okay, so what does it mean gameplay-wise? Naxxramas Hearthstone is going to be a series of 5 wings, each of those wings being representing the five quarters of Naxxramas. And what you're going to see in each of those wings is a series of bosses where you play each boss sequentially, and when you defeat a boss, there's going to be a specific unique card that you get that is added to your collection that you can either play in single player or multiplayer, you know, any way you want to play that card. And when you complete a wing, then there's a treasure, a legendary card at the end of the wing to sort of reward you for defeating that wing. So these bosses are going to be a little bit different than the characters you've seen before. You're going to have to play a little bit differently to defeat them. This is Hygen the Unclean. He's a boss who, his hero power does damage to a character on one side of your board. So normally when you throw a character out in Hearthstone, you throw it out on the left or the right, or you don't really care. Against this character, you're going to pay a lot of attention to where you're throwing the character out. And not only will they have hero powers like this, they're going to have a number of cards in their decks that you're playing against that you won't have seen before, and you'll have to play differently around. So you're just going to be playing very differently and thinking very differently playing against these bosses. Another way you're going to get cards besides the cards you get for defeating each of these bosses is with class challenges with remade decks. So what that's going to mean specifically is after you defeat a specific boss, some of them are going to have class challenges. And a class challenge will be like, hey, you've defeated this boss, now can you defeat this boss with a warrior deck that we made for you that we're providing that's going to make you think very differently again in how you defeat that boss. And once you've defeated that boss with that class challenge, then you get a class-specific card that, again, you can play single player, multiplayer, etc. So there will be a card for each class, as well as all of the neutral cards we're going to be putting into Naxxramas as well. There's going to be a total of 30 cards that you'll be able to acquire in Naxxramas, and what's actually cool about that is it's a small enough number that when you're first introduced to them, you're not like, oh my goodness, there's so much new content, I'm overwhelmed, the game is totally changing from the game I know already. But at the same time, these cards are pretty different, and so they're going to change the way people are playing the game. We very much expect them to change both new players' experiences and high-level Legend players' experiences. We expect there to be cards that change not only some high-level Legend strategies, but also ways that you can respond to certain deck strategies that are very powerful right now. So we expect the meta to change based on these cards. So here's a couple of the cards that you will be seeing in Naxxramas. As you can see, they all have Death Rattle on them. That's because the theme of Naxxramas is death. Kel'Thuzad the Lich, he's all about death, and so you can expect to see that theme all throughout the cards. So what you see is us taking a mechanic that you've seen before, Death Rattle, and exploring it and going in new directions with it. So you'll take these cards that you've had before that do Death Rattle, and based on some of these new cards, you'll have to think about them differently. Like Kel'Thuzad, who, when a Death Rattle and trigger effects, it goes off twice. So it means you might think again about putting a Harvest Golem in your deck, because when it triggers, you're going to have 2 of the damage golems if Baron Rivendare's in play. So you're going to think pretty differently about the decks you're building. And in fact, with a card like the Undertaker, you might be interested in building an entire deck based around Death Rattle. Because you put this guy in deck, and then you're going to want to fill your entire deck with Death Rattle cards. So it's going to change dramatically the way people are playing Hearthstone, and yet it's going to be the same game you already know. And now we're going to talk a little bit about how we're going to get Naxxramas out there, and back to Jason Chase.
Okay guys, so yeah, next question, how will you get Naxxramas? Well, one thing we're kind of excited about here is we have a pretty fun event linked to the rolling out of Naxxramas. So the idea is that there will be each of the quarters that Eric was talking about, the Arachnia quarter, the Construct quarter, those will all be rolled out a week at a time. So you'll be able to download all of Naxxramas, and then essentially week 1 comes around, the first quarter is available, you can defeat all the bosses, earn the cards, week 2 comes around, the next quarter rolls out, and so on, all the way over the course of a month. So kind of Naxxramas month. One thing we're pretty excited about that as well is that as each wing is rolled out, those cards will start showing up in the arena. So players who are participating in that mode will get a chance to get a sampling of what these new cards are, and as each new wing rolls out, those cards will also be rolled into the arena as well. So it'll be gradually introducing all the people in the game to all the various new cards that we have available. The first wing, the Arachnid wing, will be free at launch during the first the month of Naxxramas coming out. So we're pretty excited about that. Everybody will have a chance to check it out and get a feel for what's in store with the Naxxramas. And then beyond that, we'll be making it so that anybody can unlock subsequent orders, either by spending the gold they have in-game, or real money if they prefer to go using that option. Now, we actually don't have Naxxramas here available for play at the show yet today. The team back at Blizzard is working on it a lot, really excited to get this out as soon as possible, but we are pretty close. So the good news with all this is that we're looking forward to releasing this summer. The team is actually making great progress with it, and overall excited to get it out to everybody to be able to play pretty soon. So the last thing here is kind of a piece of art that we think sums up pretty well what we're going for with Naxxramas. Essentially bringing a little bit of evil back into the Hearthstone Tavern. And so one thing I definitely encourage all you guys to do is we actually do have Hearthstone playable here on the show floor, running on an iPad, so you can get a sneak peek at what that experience is going to be like before that rolls out here very soon. And the last thing from us is we just wanted to, again, thank everybody from the community for all the great feedback we've had on Hearthstone over the last year. There's no question from us on the dev team that the game wouldn't be where it is if not for all the great feedback and the response we've gotten. So thank you very much for that. And we very much look forward to matching up with everybody and dueling online. So with that, let me go and turn it over to Lindsay, who's going to give you some context on how you can get some more information about Naxxramas here at the show.
Alright, so do the first one. Hi. Hey guys, thanks so much for stopping by to hear about Curse of Naxxramas. If you are interested in grabbing a press kit for some assets, we have some with Kenny over here. Kenny, raise your hand. You go ahead and stop by and we will toss a press kit your way. If you would like to chat with these fine gentlemen sometime this weekend and you don't have an interview already, please head up to room 255 and we'll definitely chat with you guys and see what we can fit into the schedule this weekend.